World leaders are absolutely furious at the Trump regime, and they are striking back at Trump and the United States of America where it could hurt the most. The military. That's right. We're seeing fighter jets from places like Sweden and France be exported to new markets as other countries are less inclined to buy American military products as it becomes a less reliable provider. We're seeing Canada meet with Sweden over the past 48 hours, thinking about buying fighter jets from Saab. We're seeing Ukraine do a 10-year military deal with France for its Rafale fighter jets, as well as anti-drone and anti-aircraft and anti-missile systems. We are seeing a new world order shaping before our eyes as Donald Trump was in the Oval Office with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, and it looked like Donald Trump had a crush on MBS. It was bizarre, and Donald Trump was saying, what a great ally of ours. Don't you ever offend this guy. And as Donald Trump is basically giving F-35s and nuclear-related technologies to Saudi Arabia as Trump's personal businesses benefit to the tune of potentially hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, the rest of the world and our former allies are seeing what's taking place, and they see, looks like the United States rather cozy up with the Saudis than with the European Union or with Canada or with Australia or with America's traditional allies. So let me just show you what went down in the past 24 to 48 hours. So on the one hand, you have Donald Trump meeting with MBS in the Oval Office. We've reported extensively on what a humiliating sight it was. Donald Trump was yelling at reporters and saying, don't you dare ask about the Saudis' involvement in killing journalist Khashoggi or 9/11. How dare you ask those questions? And you saw Donald Trump say, this is one of our best friends. This is who our real ally is. So you had that. And then on the other hand, we had images of the government of Sweden, business delegations from Sweden, the royal family from Sweden, meeting in Canada as Canada is now continuing its evaluation of F-35 purchases and fighter jet purchases from the United States. I mean, Donald Trump has previously stated that he would potentially manipulate the fighter jet technology in order to control the locations where he exports. So people are saying, why the hell would we want to do business with the United States? And we've seen how Donald Trump tries to screw over allies, and people are like, we're just not going to do business with them. So why don't we start off in Canada, shall we? And I'll show you what happened when the Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden gave an interview with Canadian media, and she talked about how we in Sweden have to be very clear who our real friends are and who our friends aren't. And she basically says, Canada is a true friend. America isn't. You need to choose your friends wisely. This is the Swedish Deputy Prime Minister, and this is powerful. Here, play this clip.
Well, we brought in the heavy artillery. We brought in the king and queen of Sweden. It doesn't get any better than that. But I would say that everyone knows these are truly turbulent and quite tough and challenging times. And in those times, you need to choose your friends wisely. And Sweden is choosing Canada. And I think rightly so. And we're also seeing a very strategic work from Canada, and not least from Prime Minister Carney himself, in choosing his friends globally now very, very strategically. And I think Sweden is a great partner to Canada. We actually used to share the same bedrock. Did you know that? Before we were separated by the Atlantic. We were used to be called Rodinia, which is also could be translated into family. And in that sense, I think Canada is quite a bit of family to Sweden. We share a lot of the same values when it comes to, we're both high trust, egalitarian societies. And we believe in that openness, but that openness should not be used against us. And I think now we need to choose our friends very, very wisely. So when we come to America, we come to Canada now.
And in this next clip, the Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden talks about how She's like, well, I guess, we still, consider the U.S. a friend. She goes, but they are deeply unpredictable. And so we are looking more to reliable partners who we share values with, like Canada, with other places in Europe and elsewhere. In other words, America doesn't share our values. Just think about that as an American to hear the Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden saying America is basically authoritarian. America's no different than Saudis. Like, that's who America's crew is. And then there's another crew, which is Europe and Canada and Australia, right? Inclusive, diverse. Play this clip right here of the Deputy Prime Minister of Sweden. Play this clip.
Swedish companies making things in Canada. Is that a harbinger of things to come? Like, do you envision, best case scenario, more of that?
Yes, and that is what we're hoping to get out of this also. This is the reason why we come with a large and highly qualified business delegation this week as well. Sweden is truly open for business, and coming back to the matter of increased competitiveness, truly serving our citizens, the Swedish people and the Canadian people. I think Europe, for far too long, we've played in sort of, to speak Canadian, to speak hockey terms, we've played in box play. And it's time to get out of that and, come into power play instead. And then we need to choose our friends very, very wisely. And, we're a small country, but we're a very smart country. We're the second in the world when it comes to innovation. The reason that we can make fighter jets, submarines, AVAC systems, that we also send satellites into space, although we're a 10 million people country. The reason we can deliver all of this because we choose our friends very, very specifically. And we'd like to partner up even closer with Canada to make sure that we have value chains in a double sense. Value, economic value for our citizens, but also value with countries with whom we share the same values.
Do you think this moment for Sweden and Canada would have come without Donald Trump?
Well, in part, maybe no. I was here. I'm coming back to Canada. I was here as minister in my current position just 2 years ago with Minister Champagne, looking into a lot of possible opportunities. Then a lot of that has gone from words to action, and is also the reason why we are here. But of course, we still see the U.S. as our friends in Sweden, but they have come so much more unpredictable, and we are looking for partners that are not only transactional, like how can I profit for you, but rather how can we both profit from this. And this is also the message that Prime Minister Carney is sending throughout the world with all of the partnerships that he and the works that he's doing internationally. Is it needs to benefit the both of us, and that's why I think Canada and Sweden also are a good match.
And then in this next clip, she talks about the Saab, the company Saab, their military equipment, and making that available to Canada, and that's an important part of this trip. And they clearly recognize that Canada is now doing a review of its F-35 program and other fighter jet programs with the United States, and Sweden saying, look, we're basically number 2 in the world in innovation of technology, even though we're a smaller country. And it's about reliable partners in the long term. I can't emphasize enough the massive global reshuffling of power taking place before our eyes as Donald Trump continues to isolate the United States and generationally make the U.S. weaker. Here, play this clip.
The possibility of Canada buying fighter jets from a Swedish company in Saab. And I wanted to ask, right off the bat, if it will be possible, let's say Canada decides to go down that route. We have an order for 88 fighter jets from the United States, but 16 are coming. That means there's another, 70 plus that could be, that would fill our capability need. Is that a gap that Saab could fill?
The short answer is yes. Sweden is open for business, and JAS Gripen is probably the best firefighter in the fighter jet in the world, and I think we are prepared to increase that production. And Prime Minister Carney has made it very clear, and me speaking to Minister Jolie as well, that would also then entail job opportunities here in Canada. working for Canada in the interest of the Canadians. But of course, it would be a great opportunity for the strategic partnership to go from paper to action between Sweden and Canada.
And I do have questions on the opportunities as you just described it. But I did want to ask, just jumping off the same sort of idea around capacity or capability. What I garner from your answer is that Sweden could fulfill, that number of jets. The timeline is significant as well, because we do have a capability gap here in Canada. Can the Gripen do what the F-35s would have done in the same amount of time?
Well, I would say that Gripen comes with a slightly different set of capacities. It's a highly intricate and highly sophisticated system-in-system operations. That if you have ever flown a fighter jet like this, I have not. Obviously, it is not my line of work.
Me either. Yeah.
But I mean, the men and women that are set to actually defend our countries, defend our values, the ones that we have seen operating the airspace above Poland now, for example, where Sweden is participating in air policing a mission there, and FLF in the Baltic area, where Canada is leading. I mean, it's something that is very difficult to get in another fighter jet, which makes the Gripen very special. But I mean, this would be a commitment between Sweden and Canada to also increase the tempo of permitting and the process to actually get these produced and up and running into space. But we're prepared to do that work, and Saab is well represented this week as well.
If you're ever worried about the safety of your home, you need to hear about SimpliSafe's early access Black Friday sale. I've used SimpliSafe for a few years, and here's why I recommend SimpliSafe to everyone I know. Traditional security systems respond after someone breaks in. SimpliSafe is different because it can stop crimes before they happen with its Active Guard outdoor protection. AI-powered cameras detect threats while they are still outside your home and alert real security agents. This is the game changer. These agents take action while the intruder is still outside. They confront the intruder, letting them know that they've been watched on camera and that the police are on their way, and even sounding a loud siren and triggering a spotlight if that's needed. This is how you stop a crime before it starts. Other systems have cameras that let you talk to intruders, but they require you to see the alert yourself. SimpliSafe's monitoring agents have your back and talk to intruders even if they aren't there. There are no long-term contracts or hidden fees. You can cancel anytime. SimpliSafe is also named Best Home Security Systems by US News and World Report for 5 years running. Don't miss out on SimpliSafe's biggest sale of the year, 60% off. Right now, our listeners can save 60% off on SimpliSafe Home Security System at simplisafe.com/Meidas. That's simplisafe.com/Meidas. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
So you had that going on in Canada. On the other hand, you had in Paris, in France, in Europe, we saw President Zelensky having important meetings with the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, meeting with the leaders of Spain. You know, Donald Trump always attacks Spain. And these meetings were about security guarantees, getting the technology, military technology from France, from Spain in the hands of Ukraine. Here's the moment. This is from Al Jazeera, where they just talk about Ukraine signing a 10-year deal with France for military equipment, fighter jets, the Rafales, as well as anti-missiles, anti-drone technology as well. Play this clip.
At a military airbase near Paris, French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky. The two leaders signed a letter of intent for Kyiv to acquire up to 100 Rafale fighter jets and other military hardware from France, including guided bombs.
President Zelensky posts the following: one of the most productive visits of this year, and certainly a new step in our strategic partnership with France. We have signed a historic agreement providing for a new fleet of fighter jets for Ukraine, 100 Rafales. These are among the best aircraft capable of ensuring our defense. With the Swedish Gripens and the American F-16s, the Ukrainian Air Forces will be able to carry out all necessary defense missions and guarantee our security. We'll also receive highly effective French radars and air defense systems designed to precisely counter the types of missiles used against Ukraine. We have also agreed on the supply of air-to-air missiles and guided aerial bombs. France is additionally preparing a new package of military aid, which we will receive by the end of the year. We have further deepened our strategic interest in cooperation between our defense sectors. This will constitute a significant strengthening of the Ukrainian defense industry in synergy with France, our partner and ally. Ukraine today is weaving with its European partners ties of historic importance that our state, unfortunately, had never been able to establish before. At the bilateral level, we are accomplishing what will also bring us closer on the scale of all Europe. Each bilateral agreement is a contribution to the Ukrainian future as an integral part of a united Europe, a peaceful, free, and safe Europe. I thank all of those who provide us with their support. I thank all of those who defend Ukraine's interest as their own. Glory to Ukraine. Then you had this meeting right here between Zelensky and the Prime Minister of Spain, focusing closely on their defense cooperation in the face of the ongoing Russian attacks. They've talked about building out more technology and as part of this defense partnership. I want to share with you right here. This is President Zelensky talking about the partnership with France. Let's play this clip.
Стратегічно. This is strategic agreement, effective for 10 years from next year. We understand all the bases of this agreement: political, financial, industrial. This is a historic agreement. It's very valuable that France takes this step to ensure real, guaranteed security in Europe.
And here we translated it in AI for you. Here's what French President Emmanuel Macron has to say about the deal with Zelensky. Here, play this clip.
Je voudrais conclure en soulignant. I would like to conclude by emphasizing once again that Ukraine belongs to the European family, not only by its geography, but by its values, its history, and its courage. The path to the European Union will be demanding. It will require efforts and deep reforms, particularly in terms of the rule of law, transparency, governance, and the fight against corruption. I trust in the determination of the Ukrainian people to carry them out, and I trust in President Zelensky to do it. France will support this process with consistency, rigor, confidence, and openness, because a strong democratic Ukraine integrated into the Union will also make Europe stronger. Mr. President, dear Volodymyr, I want to reiterate to you and through you to the Ukrainian people that France remains by your side. Together with our partners, we will continue to work for peace, a just, lasting peace in accordance with international law, ensuring the security of a sovereign, independent, free, and European Ukraine. Thank you, and thank you for being here again in Paris.
Also should be noted that we heard from the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, in response to Donald Trump talking about potentially invading areas of Mexico and bombing places in Mexico. You have Claudia Sheinbaum strongly pushing back against that at one of her recent press conferences. Let's play this clip at her press conference. Here we go.
No va a ocurrir.
It's not going to happen.
We have an understanding in security that we worked for many months with the United States government, and that we agreed on it when the Secretary of State was here. And we will continue working within that framework of understanding, which has very clear principles, and they are at the beginning of this document of understanding. That is respect for our sovereignty, for our territoriality. We are interested in preventing weapons from the United States from entering Mexico. And that was part of the understanding. So it has been made clear that we do not agree with any process of interference or interventionism, and that we collaborate and coordinate. And we are a sovereign state.
Now here is the video right here of Donald Trump and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Very weird behavior by Trump. Play this clip.
That's another league, Mr. President.
And here's Donald Trump bragging about the golden bordello that is the Oval Office and what the Oval Office has become. Here, play this clip.
But obviously, it couldn't have hurt too much because here you are, right? But we had a great meeting, and the office has changed quite a bit.
So as we talk about the new world order that is shifting, you see Canada, Europe, Australia making these strong moves right here. You also see China developing at a rapid pace as well, with Russia, with North Korea, and focusing on the BRICS bloc of Brazil, of Russia, of India, of China, and South Africa there. You know, one of the important things to note, which lots of people are recognizing and we need to talk about, is how when Donald Trump is giving this nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia and giving F-35 planes to Saudi Arabia, what Saudi Arabia is likely going to do with this technology is give it to China in exchange for other benefits to Saudi Arabia. So lots of people think that Donald Trump, by giving away chip technology to the Emiratis, United Arab Emirates, giving these fighter jets and weapons to Saudi Arabia, that ends up just helping China and Russia and Iran get that technology, which is why no other administration had done this before. And so you have these poles, right? A strong Europe, China, Australia, UK, kind of Commonwealth pole, if you will. You've got the kind of China, Russia pole. And then you have the United States, which is increasingly kind of weaker and weaker, which was once the leader of the world, which has completely lost that position. Like in such a short period of time, America has weakened itself to levels that was hard to even fathom. But here we are. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe and let's get to 6 million subscribers. Thanks so much for watching this thorough analysis. Hey, Midas Mighty, it's Ben, Brett, and Jordy, and we just want to thank you for being the backbone of this movement.
This year tested us more than ever, but together we proved that pro-democracy voices don't just compete, we win.
We took on the entire MAGA machine, won a Webby for Podcast of the Year,
the MeidasTouch podcast,
and you were with us every step of the way.
And trust us, what we're working on next is bigger, bolder, and built for 2026.
Let's keep this momentum going. Spread the word. We are just getting started.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!